Hey, welcome to Freight Skills, and in this video, we're going to touch on a pretty complicated topic. I have a pretty good outline together for you, but this is something that I'm really excited to share with you all because I feel like a lot of the brokerage owners that I talk to are thinking a little bit too small. It depends on your goals and how far you want to go with brokering. It definitely has the potential to take you really far. There's huge opportunity. For anybody who ever tells you it's saturated, the industry's a multi-billion-dollar industry. It's going to be really hard for brokering to be saturated. The way a lot of people start their brokerages don't have it in their plans to grow a really large company. All right, maybe you say that you don't want a really large company, but you know what? All of the people who have large companies probably started out saying that they don't want to have a large company, and then things just start to grow and you get momentum and things get easier and you just say to yourself, you know, I might as well just grow. Right? There's no reason to not be chasing more in life, especially in this industry. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the steps that you need to take in order to grow your brokerage from just a single person enterprise, you could call it, into a big corporation that runs like an actual business. All right? If you're growing a brokerage and you're by yourself and you're working from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., you're not a business owner. You just built yourself a job. It's the truth. It doesn't mean it's impossible to get out of that situation, but you should not aspire to build yourself a job. And if you're an independent, a broker, an agent, whatever it is, and you start building up a book of business that's up to, I don't know, $500,000, $1 million in revenue, you're probably doing a lot of the work yourself, if not all of it. That does not leave a lot of time to live your life. And the reason why you started a brokerage in the first place is because you wanted to work for yourself and you wanted some freedom, right? If you don't have freedom from your brokerage, you're not doing a good job running it. No matter what that number says on top, if you don't have time to sit on the couch and just chill and watch TV or go lift weights or play sports, whatever you want to do, then your brokerage needs to be adjusted. All right, so I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to do in order to get to that point from a conceptual level. All right, now before I get into that, make sure you like this video and subscribe to this channel. This is the #1 source for freight broker growth information on the internet, hands down. So with that said, let's get right into #1. So in order to build a large brokerage, with that comes the need to attract talent into your brokerage. Right? People just don't start working for brokerages. There's so much competition out there. Just as hard as it is to sell yourself to a potential customer, it's that hard to sell yourself to a potential employee or agent. Taking these steps that I'm about to outline is really important because it proves that you are effective as a business owner. And that's why the #1 thing that you need to do in order to attract and build a larger brokerage that can free yourself from the day-to-day is to become a good leader yourself. Now, if you can't lead yourself, then you have no business trying to lead other people. That includes agents, employees, virtual assistants, anybody. So you need to start with being able to lead yourself. If you say you're gonna make 50 sales calls today, do you make 50 sales calls or do you make 20 sales calls and then make excuses as to why nobody's answering the phone? If you say you're going to do anything for yourself, do you keep that promise? Because if you don't, then I would say there's a good chance that the people who work for you won't keep their promises to you either. Because people see the way that you respect yourself versus how they want to respect you, right? So what you do in your own life is going to attract or repel the right or the wrong people. You want to attract the right people into your brokerage. If you want to grow your business properly, if you want talent to come into your life, you need to exhibit the qualities of somebody who's worthy of those traits. All right, so the #1 thing that you have to do is start developing yourself as a leader. The easiest way to start doing that is to build your confidence by keeping promises to yourself. So wake up at the time you say you're gonna wake up. Do the things you're gonna say you're gonna do that day. If you say you're gonna lose weight to your family and you don't lose weight to your family, all that's gonna do is reinforce the idea that you are not worthy of your own respect because you're not even listening to yourself. So you have to prioritize the way that you conduct yourself before you even think about adding more people to your team. So that's #1. Become a leader in your own life so that you can lead others. After we develop ourselves as a leader, it comes down to #2. We have to start creating a value proposition. Now, just like we have value propositions for our customers, we need to have value propositions for our employees. Because if you're not a good company to work for and you can't prove that you're a good company to work for, nobody's gonna wanna work for you. There's too much competition out there for you to be a mediocre company to work for. What'll happen is you'll attract all of the bad eggs of the industry. People who just intend to use your name to build up a book and then leave. You might attract thieves who come in, steal all your information and then leave. If you want to attract top talent, you need to have a value proposition. How do we establish a value proposition as an employer? Here are a few ways. Number one, do you have a good credit score? Do you have a really good relationship with your vendors? If your credit is good, credit tells a story so much about people and businesses. If you pay your bills on time, it just automatically establishes you as a trustworthy person or business. Okay, so if you're able to show anybody that you have a really solid credit score and you've maintained that credit score for a number of years, you can effectively say, look, I'm a trustworthy person, I have a trustworthy business, check out my credit score, I pay my debts, we're in really good standing with everybody, you don't have to worry about financial instability. Right? Because imagine if somebody wants to come and work for you and they see your credit as a business is in the dumps, they're gonna say, well, I'm not working for this person, I don't even know if I'm gonna get my paycheck on time. All right, so if your credit is bad right now, I'm not saying you're shot, like you're just beat, it's not gonna happen. You need to work on fixing it. The easiest way to fix it is to pay your bills. So whatever you gotta do, if you gotta drive Uber for a few months, Uber Eats, there are plenty of ways to make money right now. You could rent your car out, you could rent out a room on Airbnb. There are a million things that you could do. There's not much of an excuse to not be making any money at all in this day and age. I don't care if you drive to flea markets, pick up furniture, and flip it on eBay. There are plenty of YouTube channels that'll even show you how to do that. But there are always ways that you can slowly chip away at a bad credit score. All right, so that's number one. Another thing that can set you apart as far as building a value proposition is your training. If you've never trained somebody before, you need to learn how to do that. Training people, especially in this industry, is a skill in and of itself, right? It took me a very long time to be able to train other people. It was hard for me to learn how to train people in my own brokerage. It took me years to figure out how to train people who aren't in my brokerage, and that's what led me to starting this channel, right? So if you've never trained anybody before, what I recommend you do is start with a low hire, right? A higher low on the totem pole, like an intern, someone in college. You need to get experience training people, because at some point in time, you want your employees to be telling other employees, you really got to sit down with our boss. He's an amazing trainer. He just details points so well, and he'll really make you good at this. If you can't train people, and if you've never trained people before, anybody that you bring in, you're going to perceive as a failure, because they're not going to perform to the level that you want, especially if they're inexperienced. Okay, so the number one is you have to master the craft yourself. Then you have to master teaching the craft, and that's going to make you even better at the craft, right? It's a cycle that just keeps going around. You get good at something, you teach it, you get better at it, you get better at teaching it. It just keeps going like a triangle. So it's really important for you to master the skill of training so that you have the ability to bring on people to grow your brokerage in the future. Now, after you develop your leadership abilities, you're confident in your ability to train people, you have a good reputation in the industry, this could all take between 1 and 3 years, right? Some people it's faster than others, but there's no rush on this. This is a marathon, not a sprint. The third thing that you need to do is to create a structure in your company. And this does not have to happen overnight. But at some point in time, you have to look at what all of the successful businesses do and model that behavior. What that means is you need an accounting department. You need an HR department. You need a dispatch department. You need sales department. You need sales managers. Now, you don't need a different person for each department at the start, right? Like in our brokerage, we have somebody who's in charge of HR, insurance, compliance. They have 3 hats. Accounting is in charge of AP, AR, bill auditing, and collections. That's 4 hats, 1 person, right? So you don't need to hire 1 person for each job, but you do need to separate responsibilities. And if you can't do that, then what's gonna happen is you're gonna have a brokerage full of a bunch of people doing a bunch of different things. Everybody's gonna hate their environment. Nobody's gonna like their job because they're doing things that they didn't sign up to do, and they're all just gonna leave. If you have sales reps doing the accounting collections, they're gonna leave. Their customers aren't gonna stay with them. In our brokerage, just like a little tactical piece of advice, you never want the salesperson reaching out to ask the customer for money. Imagine how icky that feels if somebody has to call them and ask for work and then call them and ask for money. You want those contact points to be different. If they're not different, it's gonna affect that salesman's sales, and eventually they're just gonna blame you and they're gonna leave. That's just what happens. You have to think about your corporate structure. All of the things that those big Fortune 500 companies have, you need to have at a smaller scale. Somebody to handle HR, somebody to handle accounting, somebody to handle compliance, insurance, and all those licenses, things like that. Someone to handle carrier management and dispatching, right? And then you have the sales department, obviously. But the key is that you start separating the responsibilities. Even if you're doing 3 of them, it doesn't matter. You need to separate them so that at any point in time, you could pick one up, drop it in somebody's lap, and they're gonna be able to take over for you. All right, so that's number 3, building a structure to your organization. So now we became a leader. We created a value proposition that makes people want to work for us. We created structure to the organization. And now we're on to number 4, which is when you upgrade your systems and tech to match your growth. Now, at the beginning, you could probably survive on an Excel spreadsheet with a couple different worksheets, right? You got your dispatch, you have your accounting because it's just very few transactions. You have your carrier package. You don't really need much to start a brokerage in the beginning because you don't have a high volume of work coming in. If you're a beginning brokerage and you spend over $800 a month on software, I can help you save money right now just by telling you to cut out everything that isn't a TMS, a load board, and an accounting system. There's no reason for you to have all these fancy broker tools and carrier 411 and carrier checks, and all of these things are just added expenses. You don't need them when you're starting out. What you do need to do though, as you grow your team, is upgrade your technology that will allow you to manage them from distances. Now, I think you should start by growing locally rather than hiring remote, especially if you've never hired a remote team before. But what you're gonna want is something to manage your sales team. So you need a CRM, you need communication. So an application like Slack that helps you talk between your teams, or you could use Microsoft Teams. You need a professional email network where you can add people to your email network. Nobody's using their Gmails. You need a professional phone system, something that will allow you to monitor calls, assign phone numbers, things like that. And of course, you need a TMS and load boards, right? And these are enterprise level accounts on these because everybody's gonna need their own licenses with their own permissions and everything like that. Now, unfortunately, in the brokerage world, things are not very accommodating to all of them. So you might have a good TMS with a bad CRM, so you have to buy another CRM. You might have an email service with something that has some kind of messaging feature, but you don't like it, so you have to buy another messaging application for all your team members to keep in touch. It's okay to, in a sense, duct tape all of these softwares together. Where you can run into problems is if you have multiple tools doing the same thing. So if you have a project management tool here, and then another project management tool, and multiple people are running off of them, that could create issues down the road. Upgrading your tech is the last thing that you should look at. First, you need to worry about the underlying structure of your organization. And of course, it all starts at the top with you being a leader, and then trickles down to your business being a leader in the industry. Then it goes to your business having a structure that you can repeat, and then upgrading your tech, right? And then along the way, what you're doing essentially is you're building out systems that can be repeated. So every time you hire somebody, you're gonna know they need this, this, and this for onboarding. When they come in, this is what the training is gonna look like. This is how long it lasts, et cetera, et cetera. That is a good sense of what you need to have in place and how I recommend you start thinking about growing your brokerage. If you're a one-man or woman operation right now, this is gonna help you think about where you wanna go in the future. And if you're a one-person or two-person brokerage right now and you're looking to grow, this is gonna give you an idea of what you need to start thinking about right now in order to grow your brokerage to leaps and bounds in the future. I hope this video helped you, and if it did, make sure you like and subscribe to this channel. And until the next video, I'll see you soon.